On this channel, you may have heard me talk about the UNISON MIDI Chord Pack a few times. Or the UNISON MIDI Chord Pack is the UNISON MIDI Chord Pack.
UNISON MIDI Chord Pack.
But today I want to show you guys an app that I think could possibly be the UNISON MIDI Chord Pack killer. Let's get into it. Welcome back, creatives. It's Jahrell, your music technologist, here to help you master the tech you need to make music freely. For those of you that don't know, I make weekly tip and tutorial videos as well as product reviews on all things music production. If you enjoy that kind of content, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can be the first to catch the next one. I don't think I've been this stoked to talk about a piece of software or an app since I made my Beatmaker 3 Basics tutorial video. This app to me is that powerful. I came upon this app called Suggester when I made my UNISON MIDI Chord Pack video, and one of you guys pointed it out to me, so thank you for that. Today we're gonna go through it. We're gonna see, is the Suggester app worth it? What does it do? Who is it for, and why do I think it's better for music production on the iPad than the UNISON MIDI Chord Pack? So Suggester is essentially a MIDI generator. There's a lot of different options for you to put in chords and things like that, and we're gonna deep dive into exactly what it does. But this is a tool to help you with creating chords for your music, exporting them as MIDI, also learning a bit about chord formations. This app makes a surprisingly good music theory learning tool on top of everything that it provides. So without further ado, let's jump in, let's take a look at it, see what it's all about. Here we go. All right, so let's pull up Suggester. All right, first things first, Suggester is a free app. You can download it straight out of the App Store. To get the pro level features, there is an in-app purchase of $10.99, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. So this is the first thing you're greeted with when you open Suggester. You've got all of your sessions here. Some of you guys might notice that this looks a lot like the file folder system in the Files app for iPad. And that's one of the main points of this app for me, is it is designed so well. It looks like an app that Apple made, but it's not made by Apple. Everything is so well integrated. Let's just go through the features. So we'll create a new project, and here we go. So the first thing you gotta do is select a scale. We'll go ahead and do that. And it defaults to C major. We can listen to it. All right, if you're cool with that, keep going, but I think I wanna go with the natural minor. We can hear that too. Cool. Confirm. From here, you are greeted with the most useful page. These are all of the chords that fit neatly into the key of C minor. That's the key we selected. So it starts with your basic triads. For those of you that don't know music theory, triad is 3 notes that come together to form a chord. Here's all of them in order for C minor. And then it goes back to C minor. There you go. Now you can get fancy with some 7th chords. I like that one. And the list goes on and on. For those of you that are familiar with traditional Western harmony, this is your playground. Everything's here, listed in order: triads, 7th chords, secondary dominants, secondary leading tones, other chromatic, other diatonic, suspensions, dyads, which would just be 2 notes, and then there's the special section. We'll get to that later. But for those of you that aren't familiar with all types of harmony, this is an awesome experimental tool for you. You just go in and select chords and experiment with what, because you can hear them played back to you as you go and as you create your chord progressions. So let's start a basic one. I'm going to start with C minor. We'll click the plus button, brings it over there. Actually, let's change that. I don't think I want to start with C minor, so here's what I'm going to do. Hit edit, hit minus, delete. Let's start with A flat major 7. I like that. So I've got my basic chords picked out. What I can do next is assign rhythms to them. So first let me set my tempo. I want it to be something kind of slow. We'll go with that. All right, and then we'll select my first chord. I want that to be a whole note. And then the second chord, we'll make that a whole note as well. Third one, a whole note. And then we'll do half notes for the last two. Let's hear what that sounds like. It's a pretty solid chord progression to me. What I really like about this is it actually encourages you and forces you to learn. One thing about the UNISON MIDI chord pack is, yes, there's MIDI chords in there, but what most people are getting it for is the chord progressions. And while they sound great, you don't know how to replicate that sound the next time around. This, if you use it and you learn what these chords are and you learn what they look like, you can recreate things like this with rich harmony for your own beats. So what we just did was use the Chord Suggester. There are several different modes. Not all of these modes come with the free version. I have the full unlock, and these are the modes for that. So this was the Chord Suggester mode. We're gonna go into the Chord Catalog next. This will allow you to select a chord based on the name, the chord type, and it'll allow you to change the bass note. This is pretty dope. So we're in C minor, so we should have, boom, C minor. You can hear what it sounds like. There it is. Say I wanted to put that C minor over an A flat. Ooh, that's a nice sound. I like the way that sounds. I'm gonna add it to my song. There it is. So let's make that a whole note. See what we got. I'm gonna actually crank the tempo a little bit. Let's try like 100. All right, we're getting somewhere. The Chord Catalog is actually really helpful because when you select a chord, it shows you what it looks like on the piano up here, and I think that's super useful because for somebody that's trying to learn to play their own chords this is a teaching tool. Anyway, let's move on to the next mode. So we've got the custom chord mode. This will allow you to build your chords by interval. An interval is essentially the distance between two notes. And when we make chords, we generally try to go in thirds. You can experiment with this and come up with all kinds of crazy chords if you want. This is what you're greeted with. So we've got C minor selected. Okay. You can add all kinds of intervals to that chord. So for example, one note that might sound really good is a seventh. Maybe not that seventh. We'll go with a flat seven. Flat seven sounds nice. Let's try a flat seven and a 9. That's a nice sound. Say I really like that chord. Let's add it in. Plus button. Boom. There's my C minor 9 chord. That's another thing that I love about this. You just created a chord by pressing random things. You know, I made some educated choices, but you don't have to. You can put things in and then it will tell you what you created. What I created was a C minor 9 chord. So without getting too complicated, let's move on to the next mode. There's a couple ways to do this. You can select notes on your screen using this little keyboard here, or you can connect your MIDI keyboard, in my case, my X key Air. You can connect that to the Suggester app and play your notes in. And there's more to that I'll show you later. But for now, I'll just select them and add them in on the screen. So you can get all kinds of crazy with this. Select whatever notes you want. All right, we got 4 notes. Let's hear what they sound like. Interesting. I selected those notes completely at random, and it's telling me it's an E sus4/6 chord. It detected my chord. This is awesome. You can experiment with putting in your own notes and finding out what chords they make. You can choose from there to add them to your song if you want to. I don't think this really fits into my key, so I'm not going to use it. Let's move on. Next is classic progressions. Some of you guys might really appreciate this tab, especially if you're feeling some overwhelm from the amount of options that Suggester gives you. This gives you some very basic harmony that is used in a lot of popular music. Here's the 50s progression, quote unquote. You can do a lot with that already. 4-chord song, you can change your rhythms, make it sound the way you want, and then export your MIDI. So before I keep going with this, let me show you guys how I would go about exporting this MIDI. I'm gonna just get rid of these last 2 chords because I really liked it before that. Okay, we're done. Let's go to this share button up here. And you have a few options. Send document, that would send the Suggester file to someone else so they could open it up in their own Suggester app. Or you can export it as a text file, not quite as helpful. The one that everybody cares about, export as MIDI file. Boom, there it is. And I would like to export it directly to Beatmaker 3 because I already know that's what I'm gonna use it in. So I'm gonna select Beatmaker 3 right here and boom, it's in there, Untitled 5. Probably should have named it something first, but it is now in my imports directory, and it's super easy for me to add it in, just like this. I will put an instrument on this. Let's use Tines by Clevgran. Back to the playlist. Then we'll go to imports. Boom. Looking for Untitled 5. And there it is. Drag and drop. Import. Boom. There it is. And play. Easy peasy. Back to Suggester. Every file you make is saved in your iCloud storage. I have the Suggester app on my iPhone, and when I open up my iPhone and open up the Suggester app, this session that I just did is already there because it's synced with my iCloud. That is dope. Also, this app is also compatible with Mac. So if you have a Mac, you can open the same thing on your Mac. Drag your stuff into Logic. That's dope. So let's continue on, look at some more of these features and see what we can do. So the next tab is a little bit more complicated. It's called Borrow from Scale. So in music theory, generally you have a set of chords that goes with a given key. You can choose to bring in chords that actually come from a different key. So what I want to do is select the relative major key of C minor, which is E flat major. And what this did was just pulled up a whole tab of suggested chords all within that key. So not all of these chords are necessarily in the key of C minor. We are now in the key of E flat major, and I can put in whatever I want out of here. I'm gonna use that. Let's just add this G5 dyad. Let's hear if what I put in there actually sounds good at all. I don't know if it will. Nice! I could change these note lengths and I think it would sound great. And that's what I love about this app. There's so many ways to come to your progression. You can use all of these different modes or just stick to one. So you can have separate sections and you can set them to loop. So I can add a section here and I can set how long this section goes for. So click Edit, Play Count, set it to 2. I want my next section to loop twice before going on to the next section. So boom, got that in there. So every other chord that I add in here after this section is going to be played twice. That's cool. Another thing you can do is add a rest. For those of you that don't know, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. A rest is a moment of silence in music, and you can set how long you want that rest to be. Couple other things. You can arpeggiate chords. So there's an arpeggiate button here. If I select the chord now it is arpeggiating these chords. This adds so much expressiveness to your MIDI files. So when I export this, that will be played exactly like that in my MIDI file. Also, Suggester gives you 4 different options for the instrument you want to play back your MIDI while you're in the Suggester app. We had it set to piano, but we can easily set it to electric piano, and everything we play will have that sound. cheesy, but it works. And once we're done with that, we can go ahead and hit done, and our file is saved. There it is, Suggester for the iPad. Also for the iPhone and the Mac. This is a powerful app, and it can be a game changer for you if you're having a hard time coming up with good, rich harmonies. Now, who is this kind of app really for when it comes to music making? I feel like this app is for a lot of different people, whereas the UNISON MIDI Chord Pack is for a select few people that really just need some inspiration, need help beating a beat block, or just have trouble coming up with good chord progressions. Suggester, I feel like, is for people that really want to experiment with making their own chord progressions and learning how to make good progressions. I think this is a pretty invaluable tool in the musician's toolkit. And if I had something like this when I was in college, I probably would have had a lot more creative ideas coming out. But there you guys have it. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of the Suggester app and if you think you're gonna pick it up yourself. Go make something dope, and I will see you in the next video.